Hey everybody, this is Ryan Lockett with another time-lapse painting video. This time I am painting the Drying Dead enemy card for my latest game, Sleeping Gods. Please check it out on Kickstarter if you haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to tell you right up front that I struggled with this illustration. I don't know exactly why it is sometimes I have such a hard time getting what I want out of a painting, but this time it was a struggle. So you're going to see a lot of sort of trial and error and going back and redrawing the face like 100 times. So, I mean, have you ever been in those moments where you know what you need to do, but it just doesn't seem like anything's working? Like, I like to think about it like maybe like you're climbing a tower. You need to climb this tower, and you try to climb the north side, and you fall down. You try to climb the south side, and you fall down, and you try a bunch of different things, and you just can't get to the top of this tower, and you just want to give up. Well, that's what it felt like working on this illustration. And actually, I hesitated to even post this video, but I thought it would be helpful to show the creative process and how it, at least for me, it's not a straight and narrow path. It's a path with lots of twists and turns. And that's true for illustrating and working on these paintings, and it's true for board game design too. It's even more true for board game design, I would say. And it got me thinking about game design as I was working on this zombie mummy creature, and how it feels, and especially how working on Sleeping Gods felt. There were so many iterations, and it just felt like we never were going to get to the place we wanted to get. It just wasn't working, and it felt like we wanted to give up. And the way I like to think about it is you're walking through a forest, and you're hiking along a path, and you're looking for a waterfall, and you don't know exactly where that waterfall is, and in fact, you don't even know for sure if there's a waterfall, but you're hoping to get there. And so you hike along a path, and you take one path, and you go up for a long time, and you hit a dead end, so you have to go back. And then there's another fork in the path, and so you take one way, and you go that way for a while, and you go and you find nothing, and you have to turn back, and it's getting late, and you're running out of food, and you just want to go home and give up. And sometimes you do, but the times you don't and you keep going, eventually you find that waterfall. And that's how game design often feels for me. And, there's a lesson there like don't give up, but sometimes there actually is no waterfall, and so you really should just go home. So the difficult thing is to know when it's time to go home, or if there actually is never a waterfall. So back to the painting, I can see, I don't know if so I've gone down this one path for a while, and at a certain moment, I start to sort of compare it to an earlier stage in the painting, and I decide, you know what, I like the earlier stage, so I'm going to go back and get that. I don't know what I lost. I lost something going down this path in the illustration, so I decide, you know what, nope, we're going to go back and kind of start from an earlier stage. So let me move on to a new subject, and that is digital painting tips. Sometimes I have people ask me, where did you learn how to do this? Did you go to school? The truth is, I did not. I basically watched a bunch of YouTube videos. So I went to the school of YouTube, and a lot of practice, and it's just been a hobby for me for years, and I'm still learning a lot of stuff. But let me just share with you a couple things that I have learned, a couple of tips. If you're getting into this, or maybe you do it a little bit, or you've just been curious. Let me just show you. Sometimes I flip the image horizontally, and it helps me get a different perspective on the painting, and it sort of helps me see things that I'm missing. Oh yeah, here's that moment where I look at an old version and I'm just like, no, I went down the wrong path, so hey, we're starting over. Let's go back. So that's what I did there. But my first digital painting tip is to not use too many layers. So I use Photoshop. I'm very comfortable with it. I've also used Corel Painter and a couple of other programs, but you'll notice most of these programs, they have layers, and it's nice because, oh, that's a very nice tongue there. Let's hope that doesn't stay. Oh, good. They have these layers, and so you can sort of paint one thing on one layer and then make a new layer and paint another thing on that. And at first it feels like you want to use so many layers because it feels like it's very forgiving. You know, if you paint something on one layer and it doesn't look quite right, you can delete it. The problem is if you lean too heavily on that, it can be sort of a crutch, and your painting can end up looking a little bit messy, or maybe that it just doesn't belong to itself. Like it's not coherent. So what I try to do is I try to keep it from 2, maybe 1 to 5 layers. And often I will go back and I will merge the layers together just to make sure that I'm keeping a coherent look to my painting and not relying too much on all those different layers and all the ways I can edit them. It ends up just feeling like after a while like you're not even painting anymore if you have too many layers. So let me go to the next tip, which is to use a hard edge brush. Often when you maybe start painting on Photoshop, you'll find these soft edge brushes and they look so nice because they're so nice and smooth. But the truth of it is, if you rely too much on those kinds of brushes, your painting will end up looking like it was like it was spray painted. And, you know, that's fine for a certain style, but I would say most people are trying to go for a sort of natural, maybe an oil or, watercolor look. And, when you paint with oil and watercolor, you don't use a spray can most of the time. And the same is true here. So use a hard edge brush. And you probably want to turn on some pressure sensitivity set to size or transparency, or maybe both. I would say size is what you should start out at, and maybe put the brush at like 80% opacity. Okay, the next thing I would say is to think of painting like sculpting. So when you're painting, you want to think of the object you're painting more like it's like a ball of clay. And instead of sort of being just very married to the shape that you first come up with, allow yourself to repaint these shapes a lot. You know, paint the edge. Often you can see as I'm working here, I will sort of move the edge of these shapes around quite a bit. And that's just, I think of it sort of like I'm just pushing the clay into the right place, you know, to create the right shape. And that has helped me a lot. So the next thing is to sample colors from your painting quite often, and it will help it give it a coherent look. So in these programs, when you have a brush tool, you can hold, at least in Photoshop, you can hold Alt, and it will, or maybe it's Space, I can't remember. It will open up, it will change the tool to an eyedropper tool, so you can sample the color really quickly. I do this after almost every brush stroke. And that's so I can keep a coherent look in the painting, and sort of, it helps me also to blend things together easier. So it's like I'll take a brush and I will make a brush stroke, and then I will sample part of that brush stroke or maybe something near it, and it helps the workflow. You can paint a lot faster doing that too. Okay. And the last tip is to make sure to use a wide range of values. So often when you start out painting, you might end up just using a lot of colors with a very sort of middle light value. But you really want to have some dark darks and light lights. And there's definitely a range of how much you can do this. But in general, you want to make sure that you have those darks. I like to paint from dark to light, so I will paint a dark shape and then sort of paint the light onto it. And I would recommend this. I think it's actually an easier way to make the painting look natural. But that has totally helped me. So Anyway, thank you for watching, and good luck with all your artistic or creative endeavors. And I think that's about it for this painting. I'm sure I'll have to work on it again a little bit more later. But have a great day.